The Bishop, E.W. Jackson, you know him. He ran for lieutenant governor in 2013, ran for U.S. Senate in 2012, now the president of Stand. Bishop Jackson, great to have you with us, sir.
John, thanks for having me. Good to be with you.
We're really fired up today. I am so upset over this judge right up the street from us. We're a stone's throw away from our studio, basically not allowing a display of the U.S. flag to hang in the courthouse in Portsmouth, given to the deputies who protect him, who we pay for. What's the deal here? Where are we headed now?
Well, look, when you played that quote from Ronald Reagan and informed patriotism, part of the problem is that our people are simply no longer informed. They don't understand our values. They don't understand what we've come from, what we've been through, and they really don't even understand what the flag represents. It's more than a piece of cloth. It's more than a red, white, and blue fabric. That flag represents the unity and the values of this nation. And so for a judge to think that somehow flying the flag is ever illegitimate in the United States of America, and he's not the only one, I mean, it really is insane. We've got a lot of educating to do to bring this country back.
I want to get to the statement that you put out yesterday, Bishop Jackson, accusing Eric Holder of inciting violence against police. You filed a complaint with the D.C. office alleging a violation of attorney rules of professional conduct. Let me just ask you straight out. Does Eric Holder have blood on his hands?
Yeah, I believe he does. I really do. Now, we understand that the people most responsible are the people who pulled the trigger and shot those police officers. We understand that. But the atmosphere in which this stuff is happening, not only in Ferguson, but happened in New York, is happening in other places around the country, was in large measure created not just by Al Sharpton, because everybody knows that Al Sharpton is a race hustler. He has his effect. But Eric Holder is the chief law enforcement officer of the United States and the chief prosecutor. And when he goes into a community that is already upset and says, I may be attorney general, but I'm also a black man, and I know what this is like because I was harassed by police too, and they stopped me when I was running toward a movie, and I got stopped. I mean, he is adding fuel to the fire, and he is saying, yes, it is legitimate that the protests, the riots, the anger, it is legitimate. And as a matter of fact, he said the same thing in his report. He said one can imagine, even though it turned out they were completely wrong about Darren Wilson, but he still attacked the police department and said, well, it is not hard to imagine how one incident like this, a tragic incident like this, could explode when you've got a situation in which the community is a powder keg. So, yes, Eric Holder absolutely is in large measure responsible for what we see happening in Ferguson right now.
So how do we stop it?
Well, I think it's probably the best thing that can do right now, that can happen right now, is for the community to come together. Now, as you know, John, I was there and met with some pastors there, and I left them with a 7-point plan. And one of those points of the plan was, don't let people like Al Sharpton come in here and stir things up. Well, sad to say, don't let the Attorney General in either. You need to come together. Ministers, law enforcement, business people, healthcare people need to come together and begin to work out a plan for how you bring this community together, and that's the only thing that's going to happen. I think outside forces at this point are only going to make things worse.
Now, let me ask you this. What do you think of Loretta Lynch? She, in the next several days, I think probably within a week, is likely to get confirmed as Attorney General when asked. One senator, Richard Burr, Republican, North Carolina, asked her, what are you going to do different than Attorney General Eric Holder? And she said, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Should she be confirmed or not?
No, she should not be confirmed.
Why?
And because we need an Attorney General who doesn't see, regardless of whether he comes from the left or the right,
right,
who doesn't see his job as pursuing an ideological agenda, but pursuing justice, enforcing the law, making sure that there is confidence in our justice system. That's the job of the Attorney General. And you can't do that if you come from the orientation of an Eric Holder, who he declared he's proud that he's an activist. Well, we don't need an Attorney General who is an activist. We need an Attorney General who is a jurist.
Somebody called earlier, Bishop Jackson, made a good argument. He sent 50 FBI agents into Ferguson to investigate what happened. Yet when you had a similar incident in Staten Island, in New York, he didn't send anybody in to investigate anything. And one of the callers we had earlier said, well, that's because they've got a liberal left-wing mayor in de Blasio. Does that make any sense at all? Because it seems odd.
Look, Eric Holder, I don't mean to call names, but I do mean to be descriptive. Eric Holder is a political hack. I mean, he is nothing more than the mouthpiece for Barack Obama, and he has not had an independent thought since he took that office. So, yeah, I think the people who are part of their left-wing family, they get different treatment than those who they think are maybe not part of that family, and they can use them to prop up themselves and their own agenda. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that the two places got different treatment. But what difference does it make to send FBI agents in, when you send them in with agenda? Thank God that those FBI agents had the courage to come back with a report that ultimately exonerated Darren Wilson. But I'm convinced they had to give Eric Holder something, because he wasn't going to accept a report that simply said, hey, things are in that community are not so bad, not so different than they are in other communities. They have work to do, but they can do it. No. They needed something that was a bomb, and they got it, and he exploded it. And so now the violence is starting all over again.
Well, Bishop Jackson, one of the things that Eric Holder said that even got me to be taken aback for a second, he said, there's problems in the Ferguson Police Department, and I think I'm just going to go in and dismantle it. I mean, on what authority? I mean, regardless of what the problems are, that should be up to the community, the council members. I mean, what right does a federal authority have to come into a city and dismantle anything?
Well, I guess he considers himself the king's chancellor. So the king can go in and do whatever he wants to do wherever he wants to do it. It's really bizarre, the level of either disregard or ignorance that they have of our constitutional system and the independence of states and their right to sovereignly resolve their own issues. To think the federal government, as if states are really the vassals of the federal government. It's a bizarre way of looking at this country and our government. I just pray, John, my prayer, and I really mean this, is that we get a leader in the presidency who respects our Constitution, respects our Judeo-Christian values, and wants to bring this country together and see us all prosper, rather than these people who seem to be much more interested in keeping us torn apart.
There's some agenda. I can't seem to figure out what it is, but as time goes by, you're almost Xing off the remaining days this guy has in office and trying to say, can we still survive when he's out? Now, EW, I just got to tell you, you're in very good company. My wife, the Fräulein, who handles the money in our family, and we're not well off.
Smart man, John. Smart man.
I know. I don't make any decisions. And we're in media, so things aren't things are week to week, month to month, whatever. But she's made 3 political donations since I've been with her, and one went to John McCain in 2000, one went to Newt Gingrich in 2012. 3 times she donated money to that fledgling campaign, and she just donated, we understand, to Stand, your organization, the other day. So you are in very fine company.
Well, I listen. I am truly honored and grateful to your wife. Tell her I said thank you.
You have definitely. I mean, let me just say this: she throws quarters around like manhole covers, if you know what I mean. And she says she gave you a donation, so you're up there with Newt, who she gave to 3. She kept sending to I'm like, the campaign is over. She's like, no, he's going to come back. He's going to come back and win Delaware or something. I'm like, it's over. 47 Republicans that sent an independent rogue letter to the leaders of Iran. What do you make of it, sir?
Well, this stuff of calling them traitors, look, I want to be intellectually honest always. If I had a president that I really liked and believed in and some members of the other party had done this, I might not like it. Would I consider it to be unconstitutional? No. But this is not a normal situation. We've got a president who has made up his mind that he doesn't need Congress. He is going to go his own way. He is negotiating a nuclear deal with Iran, which is supposed to be an executive agreement, which does not require any congressional approval. Of course, it's not binding either. Somebody has got to challenge this man, and I am proud of those 47 members of Congress who said, you know what, we're simply not going to allow this to happen without at least weighing in and letting the mullahs in Iran know they've got to deal with the Congress of the United States. Our president is not a dictator who gets to do whatever he wants to do, even though he may at times act like he thinks he is. The Constitution says he's not.
Some of the acts of President Obama, in your judgment, let's put politics aside, are they impeachable?
Well, I think from a legal standpoint, it's highly questionable because the standard is high crimes and misdemeanors. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that you can point to any one thing that you could say conclusively, okay, this is a high crime. I think that what the president has done is violated repeatedly the spirit of the Constitution without crossing over the bold line that would allow someone to say, okay, you are now clearly in violation of your oath of office, and there's a consensus around that. And look, here's the reality. An impeachment process is a political process, and there is no political will whatsoever to impeach the president, in part because he's the first black president of the United States, and there's a fear that it would tear the country apart racially.
Right.
And in part because at this point, I think Republicans in the leadership, frankly, don't have much of a stomach for a fight. I think they just don't want to fight. I think they want to try to hold on to what they've got. It's not making me and a whole lot of people out here very happy with John Boehner and Mitch McConnell, but nevertheless, that's what we've got in the leadership right now, and we need somebody who is going to fight.
We need somebody who is going to fight. There's no question. Presidential candidates 2016, Republicans, there's about 19 of them. Do you have anybody right now that you like?
Well, let me say what the principles are that I think we need to look for. I think we need to look for somebody, again, who respects the Constitution, has reverence for it, somebody who understands the separation of powers and respects the nature of our government, that it limits the power of the presidency and limits the power of the federal government. And I think, frankly, we need somebody who believes in God, John, because, you know, I'm tired of these conservatives who are conservatives of convenience. We need people of conviction, people who believe that our Constitution and our way of life is ordained by God, that our rights and freedoms come from God, and we are special, we're an exceptional country as a result, and we ought to honor those principles. Now, I see several candidates who I think would do that. I'm not endorsing anybody, but I think Mike Huckabee would do that. I think Ted Cruz would do that. I think Marco Rubio would probably do that. And there's some others. So I'm still looking at the field.
All right, we're out of time. I want to thank E.W. Jackson for being with us. Go to standamerica.us, standamerica.us.